On a Bulgarian mountaintop stands a concrete flying saucer, built by the Communist Party and then simply walked away from. Looters shot the star off its tower, convinced the glass was rubies. Bulgaria was the Eastern Bloc's most loyal country, trusted by Moscow so completely it was called the 16th Soviet Republic. For 45 years, the party poured concrete into it, steel mills the size of towns, uranium mines feeding Soviet warheads, reactors, camps, monuments the size of cathedrals. Then in November 1989, the regime fell and almost none of it was demolished. It was just left, 8 forbidden communist places rotting across Bulgaria. We begin at number 8. Number 8, the Zhrebchevo reservoir. Between 1959 and 1966, the state dammed the Tundra River to irrigate the Thracian plain, 400 million cubic meters of water. 3 villages stood on the valley floor. Zhrebchevo, Zapalnia, and Dolno Panicharevo were emptied, their houses knocked down in advance so nothing would float. On the 5th of February 1965, a decree struck 2 of those names off the register of settlements. They were not evacuated, they were deleted. 1 building was left standing. The church of St. Ivan Rilski, built in 1891, was too solid to bother with, so the water rose around it. In dry years, the whole ruin walks back out of the lake. In wet years, only the tower shows. When the villagers left, they carried the church bell to Tvarditsa on a promise that it would be rung whenever someone from the drowned village died. The state erased 2 villages by decree. The church declined to go. Number 7, Kremikovtsi, on the edge of Sofia. In 1955, geologists found iron ore under the village. In April 1956, the party approved a metallurgical combine on top of it, designed not in Bulgaria, but by the Soviet State Institute for Iron and Steel Plants in Moscow. It opened on the 5th of November 1963. Blast furnaces, coke batteries, an industrial city on the capital's doorstep, built to prove that socialism could make steel out of nothing. It never worked. The ore under Kremikovtsi turned out to be poor, so the plant spent 45 years importing ore to feed a mill built on top of a mine. The steel was too low grade to export, it lost money from the first year, carried on subsidy until there was no state left to carry it. In 1999, the government sold the whole combine for $1 United States dollar. Bankruptcy came in 2010 with debts above 2 billion leva. Today, it is the largest thing being cut up for scrap in Bulgaria. Number 6, the monument to Bulgarian-Soviet Friendship on a hill above Varna. A national competition in 1973 was won by the architect Karmen Goranov. It was unveiled with full state ceremony on the 13th of November 1978. 48 metres wide, 23 metres tall, a pair of raw concrete wings opening toward the Black Sea, reached by a staircase of 300 steps. On the left wing, 3 Bulgarian women hold out salt, bread and a rose to the Soviet soldiers. It lasted 11 years. After 1989, nobody wanted to own a monument to Soviet friendship, and nobody wanted to pay to knock down 48 metres of reinforced concrete either. So it was simply left. The stairs are cracked, the walls are covered in graffiti, trees push through the terraces, and underneath it, cut into the hill, is the entrance to a nuclear shelter reported to hold around 1,800 people. Propaganda built directly on top of a doomsday bunker in case the friendship ended badly. Number 5, Buhovo and Eleshnitsa, the towns that mined Bulgaria's uranium. The deposits were first worked by Germany in 1938. By 1944, they had passed into Soviet hands, and from 1946, a joint Soviet-Bulgarian company ran the extraction. The ore did not stay in Bulgaria. It went east to be turned into reactor fuel and into warheads. At its peak, the country had 48 uranium mines, and almost none of them appeared on any public map. The processing plant at Buhovo ran from 1947 to 1958 with no tailings pond at all. The waste went straight into the ground, leaving a landscape contaminated with radium a short drive from Sofia. Eleshnitsa's plant was called Zvezda, the star. Mining stopped in 1992 when the buyer disappeared along with the Soviet Union. The tailings there were not covered over until 2002, half a century after the contamination began. These are not ghost towns. People still live in them. That is the problem. Number 4, the first 4 reactors at Kozloduy on the Danube. Soviet VVER 440 units of the V230 design. The earliest generation the USSR exported, built before the safety thinking that came after Chernobyl. They had no full containment building. An unpublished United States Department of Energy assessment in 1995 reportedly listed them among the 10 most dangerous reactors in the world. So Europe made a condition of it. If Bulgaria wanted in, the old reactors had to die. Units 1 and 2 were shut at the end of 2002. Units 3 and 4 ran to the last possible night, the 31st of December 2006. Unit 3 came off the grid at 21:38. Unit 4 followed at 21:49. Bulgaria entered the European Union 2 hours later. By then, the reactors had been heavily upgraded and the inspectors said so. There was no technical reason to close them early. Bulgaria paid its entry fee in megawatts. Number 3, Persin Island in the Danube near the town of Belene. On the 27th of April 1949, the Council of Ministers established what the paperwork called a Labour Educational Commune. It was the worst camp in communist Bulgaria. Nobody sent there had been tried. Nobody had been sentenced. Internment was administrative, a signature, and you were on the island. In 1952, at the height of the terror, it held 2,323 people. Agrarians, anarchists, monarchists, evangelical pastors. The camp had no walls because it did not need any. It was an island, the Danube was the fence, and hunger did the rest. Historians still cannot agree on the totals. Estimates run from 15,000 interned to over 20,000, and the death toll was never reliably established. Officially, it closed in 1959. But in 1985, the site was opened again to hold Bulgarian Turks who refused to give up their names during the campaign, the state called the revival process. A camp built in 1949 was still swallowing people 36 years later. Number 2 is on the same bend of the same river, 4 kilometers from the camp. In 1980, the state began clearing ground at Belene for a second nuclear station. In 1987, construction started on Unit 1, a Soviet VVER 1000. But the town of Zhrebchevo, just downstream, had been wrecked by an earthquake in 1977, and people knew what that ground could do. Opposition was open and loud, remarkable in a communist country. Then the money ran out with the regime. Work stopped in 1991, the plant roughly 40% built. What never left the site were the reactors. 2 complete Russian VVR 1000 units delivered, crated, and never once loaded with fuel have sat in warehouses on the Danube for decades. In 2023, the Bulgarian parliament approved negotiations to sell them to Ukraine for its plant at Kremikovtsi for no less than 600 million euros. Kiev agreed. Then Sofia cancelled the sale, declaring the reactors essential to national energy security. Reactors built for a communist plant that never opened are now strategic assets. 35 years after the regime that ordered them ceased to exist. And number 1, in 1891, on a peak in the Balkan range called Buzludzha, Dimitar Blagoev held the secret congress that founded Bulgarian socialism. 83 years later, the party built itself a shrine on the same summit. Work began on the 23rd of January 1974, designed by Georgy Stoilov, an architect who had also been mayor of Sofia. The mountain itself was in the way, so they removed it, blasting the summit down 9 meters, 15,000 cubic meters of rock. On what was left, they poured a concrete disc, and beside it, a tower 70 meters high. It opened on the 23rd of August 1981, and it cost 14 million leva, an enormous sum for a country of 9 million people. Inside the disc is a domed ceremonial hall seating 800, ringed by some 900 square meters of mosaic. Marx, Engels, Lenin, Blagoev, Bulgarian workers marching in glass. 35 tons of cobalt glass went into those walls, one of the largest modern mosaic cycles in Europe. Outside, 2 red glass stars lit up over the Balkan range. It was used for 8 years. When the regime fell in 1989, the party lost the building and no institution would take it. So the doors were locked and the mountain was left to do what mountains do. Then the looting started. The copper went, the marble went, the fittings went. The stars were shot at and smashed because a rumor had spread that the red glass was ruby. It was not. Someone painted 3 words above the entrance. Forget your past. Later, somebody added 1 more word so that it read, never forget your past. For 30 years, snow blew in through the open roof and froze inside the mosaics. About a fifth of them are now gone. In 2018, Europa Nostra named Buzludzha one of the 7 most endangered heritage sites in Europe. The Getty Foundation put $185,000 into a conservation plan and $60,000 more for emergency work on the mosaics. The building the Communist Party abandoned is being kept alive by people saving the artwork rather than the politics. It is still closed. It is still standing. That is the promise this started with. A concrete flying saucer on a Bulgarian mountaintop. Its stars shot out by people who thought the glass was worth something. A church standing in a lake where 2 villages were deleted by decree. A steel city sold for $1. Concrete wings above the Black Sea with a bomb shelter underneath. Uranium towns that fed somebody else's warheads. Reactors switched off 2 hours before Europe opened. An island in the Danube that took people without a trial. 2 reactors never fueled that still cannot be got rid of. Bulgaria tore none of it down. It just stopped talking about it. Next time, the Caucasus, where the Soviets built a nuclear plant on an earthquake fault and a city of oil rigs standing in the middle of the sea.